Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Haz'el Inspirations. I'm Leah, your host, and I'm here today with Ford again, our friend from VA, my second home. Lamont, my better half, is not with us today, so we are enjoying this beautiful weather out here and everything, and seeing the participants canoeing and getting their boats ready to take out on the water. It's such a glorious day. Ford, thank you for having us, and I apologize. The sun glare is in me. I should have had some sunglasses on.
That's all right.
But I want to thank you for sharing your day with us, your late morning with us. Today, I wanted to talk about the injustice in the Virginia system. And I know that this will be an eye-opening episode for everyone. We're going to hear some, realities behind the Virginia Department of Corrections system. We're going to highlight the impact that COVID-19 had on Ford and other incarcerated individuals. And also, we're going to continue on our legal battles and how they have emerged, and the systemic violations of constitutional rights. So I want to, Ford, you have highlighted us for over a year now about different aspects of the system, about the Moors, Americans, and we are so privileged to have our listeners. I mean, we had a lot of listeners comment, and they really enjoyed the segments. So I want to first, I want to frame our episode today as we talk about the justice system. I want to keep in mind that how it protects and how it highlights individuals that are not only incarcerated, but also those that are re-entering into the to the workforce and re-entering into try to find stability. But one of the things that sparked me is that you were talking about the COVID and how the human rights crisis was during that time frame. I know that was what, like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
So
how did that impact as far as everyone?
Well, one thing, COVID, it was, first of all, you're inside the prison and your main goal is to try to make it out or survive. So when you hear information about a pandemic, a global pandemic, first of all, when we heard it and we heard it was coming out of China, we didn't think it would ever affect us because we're inside the Virginia Department of Corrections. So to actually see in real time that pandemic supposedly coming over here as a wave with the wind,
right,
and then some kind of way ending up inside of the DOC, there's a lot of psychological issues that deal with that.
Okay.
Because it's like a weird reality for something coming from another country to end up inside of a prison. So
let me ask you a question. Was that because of the not having accessibility to like the media or additional reports? Is that why?
Actually, we had a lot of access to the media, and so we had so much access that the things that the officials were doing that were in charge, we could see through it, or we could see how, based on what they're describing this pandemic as, if it's actually airborne, if it's communicated, then we could see clearly how it's going to come into the prison based on the behavior of the staff. And regardless of what they might explain, we know that some of their measures that they were going to take were not going to help. The only thing that would have helped in that time would have been to release people, to provide actual space if what they were saying was true, that you needed distance and that you needed, crammed spaces were a bad place for it. Well, I was in a dorm situation and there's 80 people in each dorm. So, and when a person in there gets a cold, everyone gets a cold.
Everyone gets a cold.
So if you're saying that this is a communicable disease that's going to come through the air, and
so it's coming through the air ducts and everything, it's airborne.
Right, but you have to pass it from person to person. So the only way that it could come into the prison is if someone brought it in.
Contact.
Right, and if they closed off visitation, well, then how else could it come in? Through the staff.
It's coming through the staff. Right.
So the entire outlook of COVID inside the prison was, well, if it comes in, it's coming in through you. It's not coming in through any other means but the DOC.
Okay.
So if it comes in and then it starts doing what you described it's going to do and wipe people out or cause all kinds of sicknesses, then who's to blame?
What precautions did they take?
Well, any of the precautions, it's just like what was going on out in society, where they said they might wear masks, or wear gloves, or wear goggles. But
when you're in that close proximity,
what's a mask going to do?
Yeah.
And then you see staff coming in without a mask. You see staff coming in without PPE. So what is that going to do? If we're looking at this reality of the situation, it's nothing that you're doing is going to block this. So and then they were doing other things that seemed like they were going against the knowledge of what COVID was, which was they weren't letting people outside. They weren't opening up the ventilation. We still weren't getting proper cleaning supplies. Medical was non-existent, really. The medical, the way that they were passing out the food in the trays, it was just, that was like obvious it's going to lead to a spread if this is how this actually spreads. So we could see clearly that whatever measures you're taking is going to cause it to have a disastrous effect inside of the DOC, and you're not really doing anything about that. You're not addressing it. You're doing little things to make it look like you're doing something, but nothing in reality, which you have to open up the space. So we had to fight every day. And then on top of that, certain things were being limited. So access to the law library, access to religious programs, access to visitation. So everything was, so now not only that, you're totally isolated. You have a disease or a virus that's coming through and basically, subjecting everyone to sickness. And you have a lot of older guys in the system too. So they're going to have a really hard time. And we had a lot of people pass away inside the system.
Where I want to fast forward a little bit, and I apologize. Because now as we come into 2025, we are discovering that there was a lot of negligence. There are lawsuits, and there was constitutional violations. And that extends from people coming out now and talking about what health issues and everything that they have that were untreated at that time. You want to elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, not only that, so there were health issues that were not treated, but there were also issues with the vaccine itself. And with,
so were you not did you not have access to it? Did they not?
Well, it was basically a debate on the science of what the vaccine actually was, because in the time leading up to that, see, like when you're in the system, you have a lot of time to really watch what's going on. And in the time leading up to the announcement of COVID, the formal announcement that it had reached over here and it was going to do something, they were doing several things in the system that, in our opinion, were going to cause the spread of COVID or were suspect. So they came out this like in October and with a shot, and it was called a flu shot. But in this time, they gave a weird incentive that I've been locked up the whole time, and I have never ever seen DOC offer an incentive to take a flu shot. Never.
So when you say incentive,
we saw, like I said, things that were being done that were suspicious. And when they offered the flu shot in October 2010, they had never done that before. So that was suspicious, because this was around the same time that they were supposedly developing the shot. Now, when you're dealing with legal work and things like that, you don't really have, I guess, the luxury to not dig into something to understand what's actually being done. So we had to do a lot of study into what public health was when you're treating a mass amount of people in a public way,
right?
Like in a kind of like in a one treatment fits all type fashion.
Okay.
So, and with the flu shots, that's pretty much what that is. They don't assess who you are, they just give you the same shot. So after this flu shot came through the system, which I didn't take, and many people were suspicious that it was actually a flu shot. They thought it was a COVID shot, a test. Okay. So, and with our knowledge.
So you think they were using you guys as research studies?
Without a doubt.
But you were being compensated.
Right. $25 bag of candy. You know what I'm saying? If that can get you through the situation of COVID and whatever else is going to do. So now I'm studying the science on what the vaccine is and what, you know, spike proteins and mRNA and all that. So, you know, part of and the reason why you have to do this, see, a lot of the cases or situations that happen in prison affect people outside in the world, because a lot of the rights that people assert, they usually come from an oppressed, impoverished situation. They're either in the hood, projects, war regions, or prisons. And that's where people in the street are asserting their rights from, but the cases actually originated in what we call the dismal cribs, like where we're at. So when you're going to receive any kind of treatment, you're supposed to have informed consent. So they're supposed to inform you on what this thing actually is that we're going to give you. Give you other options.
Whatever we're inoculating you with, we need to tell you what it is, because, not to cut you off, but when I go get my flu shot, or if I go get my pneumonia shot, I get a disclaimer of, this is what we're injecting you with, this is the lot number, this is the expiration number, this is the site that where we're injecting it, this is all the information you need to know about this pneumonia shot. They're not giving you the facts.
No, they weren't.
You know, it's like when you go and buy a car, you get the Carfax, right? You find everything out about that car.
That's right.
So they didn't give you that.
No, and not only that, they were pre-injecting the syringes.
They were pre-filled syringes.
Pre-filled syringes before the people even came in, so you didn't even know.
So you didn't know what you were getting.
You had no clue, nor could they tell you. So,
because they didn't know.
They didn't know. So now you got people lining up because they want the $25 bag of candy. Right. And they're not, you know.
But that goes to their commissary and gets them, you know, something that, you know, food, you know, or basic necessities, you know, deodorant or laundry detergent, whatever. So I could see why, you know, especially if they don't have it.
So right after that, COVID jumped off in the DOC. It was right after the shots.
Okay.
So there's no coincidence. The only thing that transpired from the time that they announced COVID till that point was the flu shot of 2010, October. And that came into all the DOCs. And then we had COVID in the system. So rampant COVID. Now, there were actually some deaths, strange deaths, that were occurring right before this period of time. So there was some COVID, and we had saw reports about COVID-19 3 months before they announced it. So they started to announce this in the media in the end of December and the beginning of January. The end of December 2019, the beginning of January 2020. But we had saw reports about it in September and October, and then they stopped the reports. But when this virus started coming through the system, everybody's doing a lot of reflecting, and even the staff. And there were people that were dying or super sick in the months leading to.
So how did they treat them? Did they quarantine them? Did they take them to the, what do you call it, the in the prison system?
Medical.
Did they take medical?
No. Well, like we had a guy, he died right outside. Well, he died right when he came inside from playing basketball and went to go to the shower.
So how did they handle death?
They didn't know what was happening at first.
No, I mean, like, what's the process? Do they call 911? Do they call an ambulance? You know, I mean, what's the process?
Well, yeah, because there's several people dying, so they kind of started freaking out. So the ambulance would come up to. I mean, normally, I mean, if you're gonna pass or you're having a problem, they will take you to medical whenever they get there, and then you might get handcuffed to the gurney, and it goes through a whole process for the ambulance to come into prison because it's got to get searched, and then there's not a straight process.
So you're delayed care.
Oh yeah, there's no way you're gonna get from the prison straight to the hospital. That's not happening. So yeah, so anyways, in between this time, there's a lot of sickness, but then COVID jumped off with the shots. So there was not just an issue about whether or not we were going to get access to our rights or religious programs, which was cutting off our ability to communicate with other people, because in the temple, that's what we were doing. We were talking to each other about what we were going to do about the vaccines, what we're going to do about the shots. So some of our people knew about the fact that, like say in DC, they would start to mandate vaccines, which was never a thing.
We're going to come back to this. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back because I want to hear more about this, but I also want to hear how it has affected our legislative system, and what we can do to fight for better health conditions. You know, who do we need to get involved? Because not everybody sees what you see or other individuals coming out of the system. It's like you're blindsided. You know, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about us. We're blindsided because we think you're getting the best care, and we think you're getting the attention you need. And what about for people that have asthma or bronchitis or diabetics? You know, I mean, that COVID affected a lot of people's conditions, especially if they had a heart condition. So when you're saying that, staff, you didn't get the attention, or people didn't get the attention they need, and COVID, they didn't handle the situation properly. It just makes me think, what else are they not handling appropriately? And then I want to talk more about the justice of the lawsuits and things like that. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back in 5.
Okay.